Welcome everyone to another episode of Relational Introvert. I'm excited to have with me Caroline Joynson joining me on today's episode. Caroline, thank you so much and welcome to Relational Introvert.
Oh, thank you so much. Great to be here.
So, we have the standard question that we always ask each other, tell me about yourself. So to kick us off, why don't you share a little bit about yourself with everyone who's listening in? Who is Caroline?
Sure. So I'm Caroline Joynson and I'm the founder of Cheerleader PR, and I empower passionate business owners to promote themselves with clarity and confidence. So that's through gaining media coverage and public relations so that they can raise their profile, build relationships and make more sales ultimately. So I offer PR coaching courses and consultancy, and I've worked in public relations for 20 years now, so I obviously like what I do and I do love what I do. But I mean, outside of that, I'm a mum of two girls, so that's going to be fun as they get older. I'm based in Leeds in the north of England, and yeah, it's great to join you and really excited to be part of the talk about the introverted side of my personality. I mean, it's funny. I've kind of found myself in quite an extroverted profession for somebody who would have said that they, especially when they were younger, were really introverted. So, I mean, I guess the quirks would be about needing a bit of time to reflect on stuff before replying to things. So I found, like, particularly, I mean, as I said, I've worked in PR for 20 years. I worked in PR agencies, but definitely that when I then went to work in an organisation and was their senior press officer, I remember I'd have all this information fired at me and be expected to come up with the solution, which I could come up with a solution, but I needed to go in and kind of process it. And then often I would find being able to email actually my opinion or my recommendation, I'd find that easier than having to either, for one, just sort of say it straight away in the meeting, or two, I guess, going back to them and trying to have another meeting. Because I do find with very big characters and probably big extroverted characters, I kind of like sort of shrink a little bit. So it very much depends on who I'm with, in that situation. But yes, if it's one where I feel a little bit on the back foot or a bit sort of in the glare of all these people, I need to go away and then come back in order to respond. So that's something I've definitely kind of found. It's particularly, as I say, in that organisation. When I was in agencies, it wasn't such a thing that I noticed. And equally as a freelance PR person, so, able to work for small businesses just, on a day-to-day basis, it's not been something that's really come up. But I definitely remember that as something. And I think as well, just although I can step into give talks and go into meetings and go to networking, I've definitely got a limit on how long I can do that for. And if I am in a big meeting or a networking event, and if I'm not in the mood, I find it really hard to get going and kind of push myself into that situation. But if I'm feeling good, it's fine. But I definitely think I need some time to recover afterwards, because my energy will just go, because I'll have used all of it trying to, put on this big Caroline show.
That's actually so true. I can really relate to what you said about that. One, the energy piece. A couple of the guests that we've had before, we've had the same conversation around the amount of energy that it takes to actually be, really kind of keep that enthusiasm and engagement in. And it's not so much because we don't enjoy it. It's just actually is depleting. Like, it's almost like we've charged ourselves up to be there, and then when we're there, we're using up the energy. Whereas for someone who's a bit more extroverted, they're the opposite. They actually probably came drained and are feeding, like, taking in the energy while we, like, so it's just works in the opposite way.
With introversion, like what the different aspects of it are and where it affects you, and because there's some parts you might be extra, it's whether you're outwardly seem like you're an introvert or whether you hide it. Well, I think I've probably hidden it for my whole career, really, because you can't really ring journalists up if you don't want to speak out. So you just had to kind of get on with it, really.
Yes. Well, it was this conversation or a post that I had done earlier this year around introverts going undercover. So there's a
Okay.
lot of times that we go undercover to be able to adjust. And I put it almost like tongue in cheek a little bit, because and we all adjust. I don't think it's just an introverted thing. I feel human beings in general, we have to realize, okay, I have to adapt to the situation. And I find that, especially if we think about, the industry that you're in, anything that has to do with PR, advertising, there is a lot of going out there, being in front of people. And there's also the perception that it is a loud industry. Like, you need to be
Mm.
loud. Everybody needs to be loud in that space. So enter in a quieter soul. And the challenge becomes, how do you work in this environment to a degree that you're comfortable with the work that you're putting out, plus adjust a bit to all the people around you. So I can
Mm.
completely appreciate the challenge that comes with that.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely got a lot of benefits for an organisation, having people that are willing to do that, because everyone can kind of race to say the right thing and to say something. But, actually being able to just take a bit of time to say something back that's, actually is the right thing for you, that the thing you've worked out, the thing you believe in, surely is more valuable than just everyone, I guess, paying lip service and saying what they think they should say. So, yeah, I can definitely see that it's good to be able to have enough confidence in yourself to just say, oh, I'm just digesting, I need a bit more time. But then actually, then I'm sure you'll go back with something that's really considered, and surely that's better.
Yes, yes. And I think that's a whole thing about having a diverse group of people on your team, is you want people who can do both things, because you do want people who can make quicker decisions too, because there are times when, well, no, we need something right now.
Mm.
And some people are just much quicker to process and get to that point, and are more comfortable with having maybe 30% of the information and be able to still make something decisive that just needs to a decision that needs to be made right away. And so that's the value on both sides. And then the more thoughtful person can be the one that can ask a few questions and say, well, have we considered these things while we're making these decisions? And that's the beauty of having both kind of people on a team.
Yeah.
Otherwise, to your point, you're going to have just nothing get done, or you'll have everything just like, we're just going to shoot everything out there and hope for the best.
Mm. But it's interesting how you said to me before, do you think that's an introvert thing, or is that like a Caroline thing or a Nancy thing? Is that an introverted quality? I think it probably is, but I'm not an expert on introverts, but equally, I think just not being able to sort of just say things for the sake of it. I wonder whether that's an introverted tendency, and I think that's a good thing, actually.
I agree with you. And having spoken, like, again, I'm not an expert on introversion. I have no scientific background to do this, but if I just look at it experientially, and having spoken to as many introverts as I'm talking to now, and again, introverts, and we talk about introversion on a scale. These, like, some of us can be extremely introverted. Some of us can be a little bit more on the, going towards the extroverted side. But a commonality that I found is exactly what you said, is this idea of I need a little bit of time to think about something. I have to, be a bit more thoughtful about it. I go inward a little bit. Now there's also introverts who are very decisive. There are those introverts who can, who know how to make those decisions. And I think it's the word that you used is the word confidence. And I think that's maybe a little bit of the differentiator, maybe for those of us who might be like, feel a little bit more shrunken back when we're like, oh, when we're surrounded by a certain group, that can I speak this at this point? Whereas other introverts who are like, I'm completely comfortable being quiet
Yeah.
in this moment, and
Yeah.
nothing's lost in doing that. So that probably is a little bit of that differentiator. But the need for introspection, I agree with you. I do feel, I mean, maybe that's the word introvert, like, has an intro in there, like something
Yeah.
to go inside. um, yeah, I would agree that that's definitely something that is commonality between all of us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I would say, for one, believe in yourself and have the courage of your convictions, because you're around that table because you are somebody with expertise and experience, and that's why you're there in the first place, to kind of believe in yourself. And the second one would be to really just allow yourself to catch your breath before answering questions. Don't feel like you have to rush into an answer just to fill the silence. I think it's just giving yourself a bit of time, whether that's just through taking a deep breath or asking a question back, just to buy yourself that time so that you don't then need to go away and come back with an answer, but you've just bought yourself a bit of time in the situation. So that's probably what I would say to somebody in that position, looking back.
Yeah, and I think about it this way too, the idea of asking for time. I feel like that also requires a level of conviction and confidence to be able to ask for time. Because I do agree, there's times when we do have to make a decision in the moment. Like, that's the reality of it, and you make the best decision with what you have. There's also times where there's a need to ask for that time. And I feel that that's something that a lot of times gets missed, or the sense of, oh my goodness, everyone around me has this expectation that I need to respond right away. And then we feel the need to have an answer that truly, like, in our gut, we're not really happy with that answer, or are making a decision without really having thought about it, to some degree, that to feel comfortable.